Now, the Hunt Palmer Show.
A magic beyond anything you could ever imagine.
You are now listening to the Hunt Palmer Show. Brought to you by Sagrera Farms on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. Locking down the middle of the day.
You really think that's the best idea?
Live from the Raising Cane studio. This is Hunt Palmer.
It's quite a piece of work.
Hour 2, Thursday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Sagrera Farms Premium Angus Beef here on the LSU Parade Ground, helping out Team Kate, looking for a match for a bone marrow transplant. If you're in the area and can come by to help save an 11-year-old's life, we certainly would appreciate it. We're set up just across from the Union on the Parade Ground on this Thursday. Gorgeous day, and that'll be here until 6 o'clock. They will be here taking swabs until 5 o'clock. Saints are on the clock tonight to talk about that. Matthew Paris covers the New Orleans Saints for the Advocate. He's good enough to join us here on the Jim's Firearms Hotline. Matthew, thanks for the time. How are you?
Hey, I'm doing well. Thanks for having me.
It's our pleasure. What did you take from Mickey Loomis's press conference yesterday? We joked on the show. I appreciate the availability. I appreciate the questions from the media, but I'm not sure you're going to get a ton of info 27 hours from the draft from the guy who's making the pick. But you were in the room. What do you think about what he had to say yesterday? Did you take anything from it?
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of these are you try to hold the cards as close to the vest as possible. You try not to offer any specifics. But at the same time, as far as these things go, I feel like it was one of the more interesting ones, at least that I've been to, in terms of, he talked about how the Saints are not one player away, how, it doesn't make sense to mortgage the farm, that last year's win streak, they still have a lot to prove after that, and that he doesn't buy too much stock into it. It was just real interesting given the discourse that's kind of out there of how many rumors are that the Saints may want to trade up tonight to the third pick. And so, he could have been trying to say he's not going to trade up just to try and maybe lower the price or something like that. But I just thought the two parallel, his comments were like contrasting all the rumors that are out there, and I thought that was interesting.
Regardless of the board tonight and what you may find to be easier to find, in rounds 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, if you take the draft out of the picture and you just look at the Saints' current roster, what do you find to be the biggest weakness / need on this roster today?
Objectively, it's probably slot corner, just because of Alontae Taylor leaving. You don't have really a great replacement on the roster to fill that. I would maybe more zoom out, though, and say, this team really needs explosiveness at wide receiver to go along with Chris Olave. I think that's another one. And then this team has also wanted a dynamic pass rusher for a long, long time to pair with Chase Young. It's been a few years since they've drafted that they've been able to hit on an edge rusher in the draft. And so, I would put those as the top three: cornerback, wide receiver, edge rusher, and you can rank them as whatever you want. I wouldn't disagree with the ranking at all.
All right, well, let's take that discussion now to the board, to the situation the Saints are in. It starts with 8, but it certainly continues tomorrow when you get into that pick early in the second, and then they've got multiple picks in the middle of the draft to try to supplement this roster. Where would you go tonight, understanding we can't know exactly what's on the board, but we've got a feel for it?
Yeah, I think it's, what would I do versus what they would do? Like, I'm a real Ruben Bain believer.
Okay.
I really like his tape, but I just don't think he necessarily matches what the Saints always look for in an edge rusher. And so with that, I think Caleb Downs makes a ton of sense for these guys. He's, a high character, reliable player, has star traits. Everything you want out of that position, and he fills the need right away. Like, even though he's not necessarily a cornerback, that spot in Brandon Staley's defense can be filled by a safety. We saw it with Derwin James with the Chargers when Staley was there, and so I think Downs makes a lot of sense. But personally, I like Bain. I think he's a really good player.
I absolutely do too. Is your sense that wide receiver is just easier to dress a little bit later? And how do you feel about the Saints' current situation at wide receiver?
I do think it is a little easier to should draft later, but not by much. Like, if they don't draft it in the first round, I think the second round is kind of the clear spot to do it. The third round options, there should be some guys there, but I just don't think you're really necessarily getting that explosiveness as you would it within the first two rounds. And that's kind of, what I was talking with some people throughout the offseason, and that was kind of like, what's missing from this Saints receiving core. And they kind of mentioned like a vertical threat, kind of what they lost in Rashid Shaheed, someone who can make tough catches. Like, they kind of have an in-between with that. Like, you had the explosiveness with Chris Olave, and you had the contested catches with Devon Bailey, but you don't really have a yards after the catch guy or a guy who can really, take the top off defenses and make those really tough catches. So I just think, like, Cardinal Tate, I really like of the receivers.
Okay.
I like him more than Jordan Tyson or Mekhi Lemon, but I don't know if they feel the same way.
Can I ask why you feel that way about Cardinal Tate?
But yeah, just because of his track record at Ohio State. You look at his hands. He hauls in so many balls. I think he plays faster than kind of the 4.5 he ran. I think he gets a little bit overlooked, given that Jeremiah Smith is a once-in-a-generation receiver. He's a number 2 there, but he'd be a number 1 on a lot of college programs, and so I just think he complements Olave really well. Like, he can fill that Rashid Shaheed type role where you're really putting him down the field and letting him cook, and then you can even put Bailey in the slot if you want, or put Olave in the slot, and I think those three can really play together nicely.
Matthew Paris is our guest, covers the Saints for theadvocate.NOLA.com. New Orleans on the clock at 8 tonight. Mansour Delane is of local interest because we're here in Baton Rouge, and obviously he was a star at LSU for one season. Does he make sense for New Orleans at 8, and what would that mean if he was the pick?
I do. I think he makes sense. I think he's a little bit more of a safer, or like, he's not the most exciting pick in the world. I think that, if you draft him, you would be moving Quincy Riley or Kool-Aid McKinstry inside, and I don't really love that possibility. Like, I think cornerback is, like, that'd be a fine selection. There are just other guys out there that I think would be more exciting for the Saints. But I think he'll be a really good pro. It was really impressive what he did last year. And I think there's a chance he could even be gone before the Saints pick. I mean, I think the Commanders really like him. And so I'm not sure he'll even be there when the Saints are at 8.
That would be going home for him. He is a native of the nation's capital. Spent some time at Virginia Tech before coming down to Baton Rouge. This is an unanswerable question, but just your general thoughts on the Saints' philosophy with this draft. Last year, they did something they don't normally do, and they just basically sat down and made their picks. They didn't get aggressive. They certainly don't trade down in their track record. But how do you feel the front office is primed to operate over the next 3 days? Do you think they will make all their picks? Do you feel like they're itching to move maybe tonight? How do you feel about that?
Yeah, it's a good question. I mean, with so many rumors of them wanting to move up to 3, I don't know if I see it. I think Arizona is definitely trying right now to get someone to take that pick. They have so many needs that I think it would make sense for them to move down. I think it helps if they did want to move up to 3 that there's not really another quarterback in this draft. Like, they're not going to have to pay the quarterback tax that a lot of teams who have to trade up often do. But I think, I could see a scenario, that the Saints have 2 fourth-round picks. Do they package those to get up back in the 3rd round later on? Like, I could see something like that. I mean, I think Mickey Loomis not making a trade last year was kind of an exception to the rule rather than his, normal practice. So I think they'll look to be aggressive in spots, but I don't think they'll get too wild with it.
I kind of feel that way, too. It feels like they had to make those picks with such a depleted roster last year. They had to fill as many holes as they possibly could, and it seems like they did a good job after year 1. I feel like there are less holes, and maybe a little bit of aggression would make sense. Do you feel like, are you kind of in that boat with me that, hey, don't go nuts in the first round, but if you feel like you have a target there where you feel like you can turn 6 picks into maybe 5, but you get a player that you desire more, that makes sense with where the organization is right now?
I do agree, and I think a lot of the reason for that is not only the progress that they made last year, over the course of the season, but how they approach free agency, right? Like you would have said running back and guard were two really big needs for the Saints, but they took care of that in free agency. They addressed linebacker after Demario Davis by bringing in Caden Ellis. Like we mentioned those three positions at the top that were, I think still a pretty big need for the Saints, but that list could be, six must needs if they hadn't done what they did in free agency. So I think free agency created some flexibility for them if they wanted to get aggressive, but there's still other needs on this roster in terms of like they need a backup center. They probably could use a blocking tight end. And so I do think they're in the later rounds of the draft, there are still some areas to pursue, but if they wanted to, move up in the middle rounds, I wouldn't blame Loomis at all.
This is a question that I guess has to be asked based on track record. I'm looking back over the last 8 first-round selections New Orleans has made. It's Chris Olave and linemen, and the last 2 have been on the offense. Do you feel like Francis Mauigoa is off the table here for the Saints at 8, or could they go back to the well, which they always tend to do in the first round?
Yeah, I mean, I would be surprised at this point. Famous last words, but
right.
Everything I've been told is they really like their tackles. Kelvin Banks really came on strong as the year progressed. Fuaga, I think, had a little bit of a disappointing season just because of the injuries, but if you can keep him healthier throughout next season, then I think he'll be fine in the long run. They're still pretty optimistic on him, and so, you need to give time for these guys to grow, and after already moving Fuaga from the, left to right, moving him again or benching him, I don't know what that does for them. So I don't know. I'd be pretty surprised if they picked a lineman, especially given the other needs on their roster too.
Tell us what y'all got coming in the way of coverage this evening and all weekend long for the draft, Matthew.
Oh, yeah, we'll have plenty of stuff on NOLA.com. We'll be doing a live show hosted by Zach Ewing, our Saints editor, where Luke and I and the rest of us will hop on and give instant analysis of the picks and such. And then we have, we'll have our Sunday story of whoever they take in round 1 and just like a deeper feature on them. So there's plenty to look forward to.
Matthew, we appreciate some time. Enjoy the next 3 days. Always fun in the off season to do this, and we'll talk soon.
Great, yeah, thanks for having me.
That's Matthew Paris with The Advocate in NOLA.com talking some Saints. Black and Gold on the clock at 8 tonight. We will certainly be talking about it the rest of the show today and as well tomorrow when we come to you from Starkville, Mississippi. Let me remind you of our friends at the Highland Insurance Group. They're online at highlandig.com, highlandig.com. Group and employee benefits, they got them at the Highland Insurance Group. If you're a business owner, you need to make sure you're recruiting and maintaining the best talent, the best people in your organization. And one of the ways to do that is to offer great benefits, whether you're talking about health insurance, you're talking about vision, dental. If you feel like you're not getting the best bang for your buck, if you feel like you're not getting good customer service or those renewals and the premiums just keep raising and raising and raising, it can be brutal on a business's bottom line. The Highland Insurance Group is here to help. So if you need a second set of eyes, you want another option for your group employee benefits, check out my friends at the Highland Insurance Group. Jonathan Carbone's team are based here in Baton Rouge, and they can certainly help you out anywhere in the state of Louisiana. It's the Highland Insurance Group. They're online at highlandig.com. We still got a ton to do here on this Thursday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show. We're brought to you by Sagrera Farms Premium Angus Beef. Earlier on in the show, we talked about LSU Practice Report. We also gave you my thoughts on this pick and its importance for the New Orleans Saints. Tonight, that's Hunt on Saints. You can find our LSU at Hunt on LSU. We got some more LSU and Mississippi State to talk about. I'll be hitting the road bright and early, actually kind of dark and early tomorrow morning for Starkville. I'll be doing my show from Two Brothers Smoke Meats in the Cotton District in Starkville. So if you are an LSU fan that has booked this trip in advance and wants to go up to Starkville and you're going to be there early enough, come see us at Two Brothers Smoke Meats 1 to 3. We'd love to see you, and I'm excited to get up there this weekend. I really am, even though it doesn't feel like it with the way LSU has played the last couple of weeks. But we'll talk about the LSU baseball team with Chris Blair when we come back.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
Marucci! Go take a tour at Marucci, won't you? It's such a cool story. 2 former big leaguers, their trainers say, hey, let's make a bat. They start getting to work in the backyard shed, and they find they're doing pretty well. So they give these bats away, and they say, hey, y'all swing some of this lumber. Turns out, pretty good. 22 years later, you're talking about the official bat of Major League Baseball. You can take a tour and learn about how Marucci became the official bat of Major League Baseball from a backyard Baton Rouge shed. It's an amazing, amazing story. You can also jump in the hitter's house, take some hacks. You can become a member at Marucci. If you are, 24/7 access to the cages. Maybe you've got a youngster just eating up with baseball, eating up with softball, wants to take some hacks, you can do that at Marucci. Go get a ticket, take a campus tour at maruccisports.com/campus-tour. maruccisports.com/campus-tour. Every ticket comes with a 20% discount in the campus tour store and in the hitter's house. It's Marucci.
You're listening to The Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Sagrera Farms.
Chugging along here, Thursday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show. We are on the parade ground here for Team Kate Hargett, an 11-year-old. It's a swab event. She's got a condition that will turn malignant, if not a bone marrow transplant. So if you're in the area and are age 18 to 35 and have the time to come on by and get swabbed, we certainly do appreciate it. Just trying to save a life here of young Kate Hargett, who's here. She's hustling with her friends. Her mom and dad have been awesome. Her dad sat down with us at the end of hour number 1. It's been really uplifting to see the amount of people that have filed in to get swabbed. And if you're in the area and have a little time, we certainly do appreciate it. They're here until 5 o'clock and here until 2 o'clock tomorrow. Matt's going to be doing his show from here until 6 o'clock. So we'd certainly appreciate it. I know the family would if you would stop by and have the time to get swabbed. Start talking some LSU baseball. I'm headed to Starkville tomorrow. Chris Blair is already there with the team. Joins us now on the Jim's Firearms Hotline. Chris, how are you?
I'm good, friend. Good. Looking forward to, getting up there to Duty Noble and seeing this LSU baseball team can turn things around and do it quickly.
That would certainly be a positive. You saw some youngsters on Tuesday break through and have some really key at-bats for the offense. What did you see from that group on Tuesday?
Yeah, I was excited to see it. I mean, they get the opportunity, and granted, I know it's a midweek game against UNO, but I kind of touched on it, I think, you and I last week, that, I think that's kind of where we are headed at this point. I mean, again, based on the injuries that we all found out about earlier in the week, that would be my guess. But, again, we've seen William Patrick. We know he's got great speed, had a great at-bat, a couple of great at-bats, actually. Jack Ruckert getting the start. He did excellent. I think went 2 for 3 on the night. And again, we've seen Mason Braun now for a couple of weeks, and I don't expect to see him going anywhere anytime soon. So, I think that's kind of what we're looking at moving forward. Obviously, the guys are talented. They're not at LSU just because they're nice guys. They obviously don't have the experience yet, the number of reps, but I think that's what we're going to see. I mean, it may be guys moving around a little bit, different positions, different parts of the order, but I expect to see William Patrick, Jack Ruckert, and certainly until Steph Dardar gets back, I think we'll see that. And obviously Mason Braun at some point.
And you would toss Omar Cerna in there, who ripped a single up the middle to score a couple of runs in that big inning for LSU back on Tuesday. Here's where I am. This is not really a question, but just more of a discussion. Like, I don't expect Jack Ruckert and William Patrick and some of these guys to just be forces on the offensive side of the baseball. That's a lot to ask. I can ask Kason Evans and William Schmidt to maybe bump it up 2 notches if this team's going to turn it around. Do you kind of feel that way? It's just a more reasonable ask for those 2 guys to do something. We've seen them do at times, just not maybe every single week.
Oh, without question. I think, Buzzy and I talked about it during the broadcast. I mean, you lose a guy like Jake Brown. You already were without, again, the starting pitcher that you were hoping to have in Cooper Moore. And you're not going to be able to replace, obviously, Jake Brown with one human being. Certainly not on this roster at this time. So not only do you have to have guys like Ruckert get the opportunity, Patrick get the opportunity, and just not hurt the team, find a way to get on base. But it's going to take guys like Stephen Milam, Omar Cerna, who, again, I don't refer to him as a true freshman anymore because he's just an everyday guy. But I think everybody's got to lift their game in all phases, whether it be the pitching staff, whether it be the lineup at the plate. And the good news is you're starting to see a little uptick from Stephen Milam, which is kind of his MO over the last 2 years. So he's going to have to pick it up a little bit. Kate Arambidi certainly over the last couple of weeks has lifted his offense a little bit. I don't know how much more you can ask of him, but I think everybody's just going to have to, increase their productivity just a little bit. There's nobody on the roster, either in the starting lineup or sitting in the dugout, that's going to be able to just walk in and replace, 16 home runs and 50 RBI like Jake Brown. But if you can get a little bit of everybody, just up their game and production a little bit. And again, I am not convinced that the talent's not there. So again, I just think it's going to be on everybody. There's no reason to put all of that on all the veterans. In the same light, it's not fair to put all of that responsibility on these true freshmen that are now going to get some valuable experience over the next several weeks.
Kind of quietly, because things have kind of taken a turn for the worse, the bullpen has gotten a little bit better. Are there a couple of guys out of the bullpen that you've enjoyed and have seen some progression from the last couple of weeks?
Yeah, just mainly I think it's from, throwing strikes. And it's much easier for me to say. I'm not up there, looking down at the barrel of SEC batters. But, I think just throw strikes, avoid the walks. I mean, there were a good number of strikeouts over the weekend against a very good Texas A&M team. The problem was, when they were able to get their bats going, they always had a runner or two aboard. They had 7 home runs, and 4 of those were 2-run blasts. LSU had 3 home runs. They were all solo shots. So at the end of the day, I think that this bullpen has pitched well, and it starts obviously with Devin Sheeran. Excited to see what he does this week against a pretty good Mississippi State lineup. I thought Grant Fontenot again in the start the other night, especially early on, throwing strikes. And don't look now, but Danny Lockenmeyer, the last couple of outings, he's been able to prove he can throw strikes consistently, avoid hitting batters, and avoid giving up the free passes. So without question, I think the bullpen has improved slightly. And those would be the 3 guys that I expect to see a good bit of, along with the guys we already know about. Gavin Guidry's going to be in the mix, obviously. But I think right now you're seeing and Zach Cowan, I should mention. But I think you're going to see a little more trust and, the ability for Coach, as we talked about all weekend. It makes it a lot easier when you're not playing from behind the entire game to manage your pitching staff. But if you can get an early lead, stay out in front, I like what I've seen from the bullpen as far as just starting to throw strikes and let your defense back it up. I mean, you can live with solo home runs. Everybody knows that in the game of baseball. But when you're loading, 6, 7 people, 8 free passes with hit batters and wild pitches, not only is LSU hurting themselves putting people aboard, but those wild pitch numbers and pass ball numbers are basically getting you to first. And then suddenly, before you look up, they're in second, and then they're at third. And, in the SEC, you give teams like that opportunities where they just get the free ability to move, 90 feet at a time. Yeah, you're going to be in trouble. So I like where I've seen the bullpen. And I think the offense can do a lot to help the starting pitchers, both with Case and Evans and obviously William Schmidt.
Jay Johnson said to the media the other day, the speech time is over. That was a 3-week ago thing, 2 weeks ago maybe thing. This is just go out there and try to play the game. You got any sense on the morale of this team as they've lost their most productive hitter and have lost 6 league games in a row?
I get the sense, and again, I've not been in the private meetings, but I agree with you. I mean, Jay's been pretty clear to me, both on the air and off, that, there's no magic speech. There's no get them in a room and inspire them, and they're going to go out and suddenly, play great fundamental baseball. But by the same token, even though you've had the tough news over this last week, you've had a tough 2 weeks in SEC play, being swept in back-to-back weekends, I almost think that without having to say it, Hunt, there's kind of okay, this is the hand we've been dealt. Some of it's out of our control. Some of it we can control. But we're going to restart now. Everybody has, signed LSU off. LSU is done. They're, another champion that's not going to make the NCAA tournament. I would use all of that for fuel. And maybe play a little looser than they did being the number 1 team and then struggling out of the gates in SEC play. I think now it takes some of the pressure off. If everybody thinks you're not going to make the tournament, let's go out and play ball.
We shall see. We'll be headed up to North Mississippi tomorrow morning bright and early. Got a show to do 1 to 3, and then I'll be in the press box right there with you for 3 ball games. Let's see if we can get a couple wins out of it, Chris.
Yeah, bring some of the wins up here with you on the way.
I'll try. That's Chris Blair. He's the voice of the Tigers joining us on the Jim's Firearms Hotline. LSU and Mississippi State, 3-game set from Dudy Noble Field in Starkville starting tomorrow. We'll be at Two Brothers Smoked Meats in the Cotton District, walking distance from the Dude coming up tomorrow. You hear those raucous roars in the background. That's Alondra Villarreal and, of course, Rivers Huey, our native bulldog here. And we'll all be up there looking forward to the weekend. And if you're headed up to the series and want to come hang with us 1 to 3, Two Brothers are a great spot to do it. Got some cold drinks, some awesome food, and we're looking forward to being there until we walk over to the ballpark and watch LSU and State tomorrow in Game 1 of a 3-game set. I'll certainly be talking about it a lot on tomorrow's show. Take a time out, come back. We got a lot more. It's Thursday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show.
The Hunt Palmer Show. Palmer Show.
Lifetime Roofing, lifetimeroofingla.com, lifetimeroofingla.com. You got to trust your roofer. You got to be able to trust them because that's a business where you may not know what you're getting. You don't know how to inspect a roof. You don't know what needs a replacement, what just needs a repair. That's why you've got to trust your roofer. And Lifetime Roofing has built its business on the ability to be trusted. They're a local Baton Rouge-based company, and they're here for you. They understand that part of their work is done in real times of need, especially after significant weather events. So sometimes roofers will come up, and they're here to sell you their most expensive product. That's a new roof. Let Lifetime Roofing do the inspection. They'll tell you if you need a new roof, and they're happy to help you with that. You'll get incredible craftsmanship, a lifetime warranty, and a local company doing business here for you. But maybe you just need a repair. They can do it. Maybe you need to fortify your roof before the storm happens. Get them to come out and do that for you right now. You need financing availability if they do need to put a new roof on. They got you covered, 0% to 18 months. It's Lifetime Roofing. Find them online at lifetimeroofingla.com, lifetimeroofingla.com.
You're listening to The Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Sagrera Farms.
Fabry Chevrolet, online at fabrychevrolet.com, fabrychevrolet.com. Looking for a road trip car? Got the family all loaded up to go to the beach. Got the family all loaded up to go up to the mountains. Got the family loaded up to go wherever it is you're going to go this summer for a vacation, and you need new wheels for it. Fabry Chevrolet GMC is happy to help you with that. They're on Highway 61 in St. Francisville. If you're looking for a Chevy Suburban, looking for a Chevy Yukon, they got it. You're looking for a GMC Denali. Well, you can't get a Chevy Yukon because that's a GMC Yukon, but they got it at Fabry Chevrolet. We were looking for Tahoe there. They got them there at Fabry Chevrolet GMC. Incredible SUVs, fantastic trucks as well. Up to $11,000 off Chevy Silverados, up to $13,000 of GMC. If you need that road trip vehicle, get up Highway 61 in St. Francisville and say hey to my friends at Fabry Chevrolet GMC. Their customer service is phenomenal. The buying experience is fantastic. Service after the sale, second to none. That's why the Fabry family business has been at this for 35 years here in Baton Rouge. So go by and see them, Highway 61 in St. Francisville, or online at fabrychevrolet.com, fabrychevrolet.com. All right, this segment here is the last full segment before we take it or leave it and get out of here. So I'm going to do kind of an emptying of the notebook here. We're going to hit a lot of different topics because this is the last segment of the show, right? So let me just get into a few things, and they're not really at all related in any way, but I have these that I want to talk about, so we'll hit them all for 3 minutes, and then that'll be the end of the segment, right? Okay. I spent a lot of time today at LSU football practice with the running backs, and I have spent a lot of time at LSU football practice. What I watched today and really all spring long is different in terms of the way the running backs are being coached. I think Frank Wilson is a really good running back coach. I wanted him to be on staff at LSU. There are a lot of you listening who don't agree with that, and that is completely fine. I find him to be an asset on staff. I find his relationships in New Orleans to be helpful. I did not suggest that his departure from LSU would make the football program implode. I just think he was good. Kevin Smith brings a different set of skills to the position. Frank Wilson is a relationship builder, a guy that's spent a lifetime in the game, a guy that has been successful coach in high school, that has been a head coach in the college ranks, that has been a recruiting coordinator, that has helped develop running backs that have been really, really good. He's got one set of skills. Kevin Smith was a good NFL running back and a legendary college running back. And he is teaching these guys some things I have not seen taught by Frank Wilson while I'm out there. That is not to say Frank Wilson's never discussed these types of things. Frank Wilson has coached a lot of football practices that I haven't been at. So, again, but the amount of footwork, the technical aspects of actually carrying the football is a little bit more in depth than I have seen. And, like, it's something that Caden Durham and Harlem Berry, who have a year plus in the program, Caden has 2, and they're struggling with at times. And he is demanding during these ball-carrying drills. They're working on feet. They're working on pad level. They're working on ball security, all these types of things. The attention to detail is just, in my opinion, is taken up a notch. And I noticed that today. He is not happy with, like, 80% of the reps they go through in what looks to be a very innocuous drill where you cut through a couple of cones and run through the little sled thing. It is an incredible attention to detail. He's very demanding. And the thing about Kevin Smith is, and you look at a picture of him, like, he has no problem going through and doing the drill at full speed right now. He's not in NFL playing shape, but he's in damn good playing shape, and he can get out there and do the drill as he wants it done. And I think that's an amazing thing to watch. So I enjoyed watching Kevin Smith coach the running backs today. I think he's a real asset on staff for LSU. That's one segment for this, one piece of this segment, I say. A segment of a segment, one piece of this segment. Next, big night tonight, Mansour Delane. Big night. Mansour Delane tonight, I think, etches his name among those great LSU corners. I'm disappointed Mansour Delane did not win the Thorpe Award. I believe he deserved the Thorpe Award. Caleb Downs had a great 3-year run, one at Alabama, 2 at Ohio State. He's a great player. He had a great year. It was not this Lifetime Achievement Award completely, although I believe Mansour Delane had a better year than Caleb Downs. His team wasn't very good. When you allow 2 first downs passing total, that's a pretty damn good year playing defense in the defensive backfield in the Southeastern Conference. And I know they was only here for 1 year, and, you know, Patrick Peterson was here for 3, and Derek Stingley played basically 2 years, and Tre'Davious White was here for 4, and, you know, you had Morris Claiborne, and you had Corey Webster, and, like, a lot of greats that have run through here that had a lot more time on the ground here. But Mansour Delane, his year in coverage this year was as good as any of them. I think he deserved the Thorpe Award, and I think his draft choice tonight is going to cement him amongst that top tier. That top tier has got, like, Stingley, Peterson, Matthew, Claiborne, Webster in it, I think. There's a tier, like, right below that that's got, like, Tre'Davious White and Christian Fulton and some of those guys in it, Greedy Williams. But Delane joins that top rung tonight. I'm hopeful. I'd love it if the Saints got him at 8. I'd be thrilled if he went at 7. I think Washington's right there. That's somewhere a lot of folks are forecasting him to go. But he becomes a first-round pick, and I think he's just another feather in the cap for Corey Raymond when you go to recruit, when you go to get guys. Because it's not just high school guys that Corey's recruiting. The DJ Pickett's and Havon Finney's and the guy that he's brought on since coming back to LSU, but also the portal guys. You want to come here and transform yourself? Mansour Delane was the 3rd-team All-ACC player at Virginia Tech. Came in here, top 10 pick. Like, that's a big deal for DBU. So big night for Mansour Delane. That's another piece. Same lines here, among the same lines. Cool weekend for Doug and Garrett Nussmeier. I saw the quote from Kellen Moore, Saints head coach, from yesterday that suggested that Doug Nussmeier would be excused from Saints responsibilities this weekend to be with Garrett. And, you know, the quarterback coach, offensive coordinator, probably not calling a ton of shots in the draft room. Input is certainly welcome, and I'm certain that he has given some of that, and I don't think he'll completely check out of the Saints situation for the weekend. But this is once in a lifetime. Doug Nussmeier's been in a lot of draft rooms. He's coached a lot of football games, and I think his relationship with Kellen Moore is great. And so his input with the New Orleans Saints will be important moving forward. But his son's never going to get drafted again. And so for the Saints to allow Doug Nussmeier to go and be with Garrett and not be in that draft room for when that happens, I think is really cool. Y'all have my sincere thoughts on Garrett Nussmeier. I'm pulling for the young man. I think that the hand he was dealt his last year was crummy. That's just life, though. That's just the way it goes. You can't sit there and pout. You just move on. He's got a great opportunity. I think Garrett's pre-draft process has gone really well from the very far outside, and I think it's cool the Saints are letting Doug be with him, and I'm hopeful that Garrett finds a good spot and is able to carve out a little spot in the NFL. I think that some people in Baton Rouge soured is too strong a word on Garrett, but we're disappointed in the way that Garrett played before we knew what was going on. You realize the kid had a cyst on his spine and was dealing with knee problems and just never was able to play to his level as a senior. Was a bummer. This is a great weekend for him, and we know that the story between those two guys is very cool. So for Garrett to be joined by his dad, who I think at times has probably had to miss some of his football life because he's coaching, to be there for this is really cool. So that's a cool thing there. That's another piece. And the last thing I want to talk about is completely off the wall here, just completely unrelated to any of that stuff. But I've got 4 minutes left in this segment, so we'll do it. This statement that Mike Vrabel put out about needing to be a better husband and father and stepping away for day 3 of the NFL draft. Are you joking? Like, there are likely a lot of people listening to me right now who are in public relations, who are wonderful people that do a great job. I don't mean to paint with a completely broad brush here, but I'm just going to say it like I see it. Like, public relations to me sometimes, maybe not oftentimes, but sometimes, is just like kind of lying to try to get people to think about things that aren't true. That's painting with a broad brush, but it's kind of how I feel. And this is not lying, but it's laughable to paint all of us as morons. You're going to say you need to step away from the Patriots after you make your first, second, and third round picks? You're just going to bow out for the 6th rounder you're going to cut in like 5 minutes? That's not a punishment. That's a joke. And if you're looking for some sort of like contrition from us, like, I'm not in charge of who Mike Vrabel sleeps with. Like, what do I care? I don't. But don't pee on my leg and tell me it's raining, man. Like, that's ridiculous. You want to step away from the whole draft? You want to take time away from the program to go get things right with your family? I'm all for that. Don't act like you're serving some sort of penance for this public public outcry at your expense by missing the 3rd day of the draft. Come on, man. That's just utterly ridiculous. And whatever PR person determined it was a great idea for Mike Vrabel to step away from day 3 as some sort of punishment it's ridiculous. I'll make sure I'm locked in for rounds 1, 2, and 3, where we draft the guys that are supposed to make Pro Bowls and get us back to the Super Bowl. But I'm going to really serve a harsh punishment for my shortcomings by missing the 6th rounder from Valdosta State that we're going to cut 3 weeks into camp. Give me a break with that. All right, just had to get that off my chest. I laughed audibly when I saw that this morning. We're going to take a timeout. We'll come back and close things up from the parade ground at LSU, working out here for Team Kate. Tell you more about that and close things up when we come back.
The Hunt Palmer Show. Our friends at Auctioner want you to know what healthcare options you have available to you, and they make it so easy at Auctioner. If you're looking for comprehensive and continuous care, that's your primary care. That's annual checkups, preventative visits, immunizations, talking about chronic disease management like high blood pressure, high cholesterol, high blood sugar. That's available in a virtual visit, and you can schedule with your primary care provider at www.auctioner.org/brprimary. If you need immediate care for a common illness, minor injuries, that's going to be your urgent care. That's got walk-ins, very welcome, extended hours, and you can find a location at auctioner.org/urgent care. If you've got a sprain or a broken bone, you've got urinary pain, earaches, minor burns, sunburns, heat-related illness, that's urgent care, and they're available at Auctioner. And, of course, if you've got severe life-threatening conditions like severe chest pain, severe head trauma, sudden vision loss, severe abdominal pain, you need to go to the emergency room or call 911 immediately. If you want to schedule online, you can through My Auctioner. You got convenient follow-ups and routine care. Another resource at Auctioner is Auctioner on Call. You can find them at 1-800-231-5257. And, of course, a nurse can help direct you to the best care option. That's from our friends at Auctioner. You're listening to The Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Sagrera Farms.
Shout out to Sagrera Farms for bringing you our Thursday shows each and every week. I give you Sean Sagrera's phone number every single week because that's who you contact for Sagrera Farms. If you're looking to do beef a different way, obviously herd inventory is the lowest it's been since the 60s. Our population has increased quite a bit since then. Supply and demand, that sends beef prices through the roof. So you might be paying a premium price, but what kind of product are you getting when you go buy your beef? Maybe it's not great. If you've got questions about that, well, you don't have them if you go to Sagrera Farms. If you're going to pay that premium price, you might as well pay it for a premium product, and that's what they've got at Sagrera Farm. It's the best burgers I have ever made at home. The steaks are phenomenal. Ribeyes, fillets, strips, skirts, flanks, brisket, chuck roast, ground beef, all there from Sagrera Farms, all prime every single time. And the beautiful thing about Sagrera Farms, if you don't like it, you don't have to pay for it. Father's Day is coming up. It is. If you're thinking about what to get for Father's Day, and maybe you've got 4 or 5 dads you want to help out, go buy half a cow. Spread it out amongst 5 folks, and you can go ahead and make sure they are taken care of for Father's Day, and they will love it. Fill those freezers up with the best beef around. It's Sagrera Farms right here, just north of Baton Rouge in Ethel. Give Sean a call. Just say, hey, heard about you on Hunt's show. Would like to talk about getting some beef. He's happy to help. It's at 225-719-1723. It's 225-719-1723. Sagrera Farms Premium Angus Beef. Before take it or leave it, let me remind you one more time why we're here. We're on the parade grounds at LSU for Team Kate. Kate Hargett is an old girl, 11 years old, and she's in a battle. She's got a mutation that will turn malignant if she doesn't get a bone marrow transplant. Her family have organized swab drives all over the state of Mississippi, now here in Louisiana. If you're between 18 and 35 and are willing to come by and get swabbed to see if you are a match for a bone marrow transplant, we would certainly appreciate it. I have been overwhelmed with the amount of people that have come through to these tents to get swabbed for Team Kate. She's here, 11 years old, full of energy, smiling. Talked to her dad at the end of hour number 1. Loves to read, loves life, getting into a little bit of cheerleading. And we're here to try to help save her. If you have time and you're willing to come on by and get swabbed and you're between 18 and 35, we would be so, so appreciative. We're here on the parade ground just in front of the LSU Student Union. Our tent's set up. Matt's going to be here until 6 o'clock. They will be here until 5 o'clock, and they'll be here tomorrow until 2. So if you can't get by today, get by tomorrow. We certainly appreciate it. So hopeful that we can find an answer here for young Kate, and appreciative that they've asked us to come on out and do this. It's been really uplifting to do so. And again, hopefully we can find an answer for Team Kate. All right, let's play some Take It or Leave It.
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 Today's hottest stories in sports, news, and sometimes even Hunt's life. The question is, will he take them or leave them?
All right, so the NFL is using legendary quarterback Peyton Manning as a means to get Indiana's Fernando Mendoza to attend the 2026 NFL Draft. Manning had told reporters Wednesday that he feels that the league had reached out to him so he can try and get Mendoza to attend the draft, saying that I know he wants to stay home with his family, which will be fine, but it's special to be there. So is Mendoza making a mistake by not attending the NFL Draft? Take it or leave it.
Talking about Fernando Mendoza right now, talking about Peyton Manning, and saying that Peyton Manning reached out to Mendoza to encourage him to go to the draft. I know he's staying home with his family, which will be fine, but it's special to be there. Is Mendoza making a mistake not showing up to the draft? Take it or leave it. I will leave it. I think that his situation is a little bit different because you're talking about a mom with some health issues. I don't know if that's the reason or not. She certainly has been able to travel a little bit for his games, and I'm not sure what. But we did talk about it a couple weeks ago. Like, it is such an amazing experience to be able to be there when you know you're going to be the first pick, which he is going to be. He's not going to get stuck in that green room for very long. So it's an interesting situation that he's got there. If all things are equal, I would say, yeah, probably best to be there. But all things are not. So to the Mendozas, it's going to be an awesome night no matter where he is tonight.
All right, so FIFA has resale tickets.
Mickey Loomis. Mickey Loomis.
All right, so
I got you
FIFA
now.
Has resale tickets.
Matt's booing Mickey Loomis from offset.
Okay, so I didn't know you want to keep on. So FIFA has resale tickets just for under $2.3 million. Okay, so I didn't know the lowest ticket price for the final has been listed for $10,000 for 4 seats. So paying millions to watch a sporting event, take it or leave it. So paying millions to watch a sporting event, take it or leave it.
$2.3 million. Not going to happen for me. I'm not in the market for $2.3 million tickets. If you are, that's a special event, and you have so much money you don't care. I don't know that I'm in for 10 grand. In fact, I'm probably not. But yeah, that's impressive stuff there. That people are paying that much money for World Cup tickets. We got about 1 minute to go here from the parade grounds. Again, my prediction officially for the Saints is Carnell Tate at 8. My preference is Ruben Bain. That's who I think would be the best. That's the highest upside for me at a position that they can really get. I just think it's harder to get an edge rusher in the second round or third round that's a hit. It's not impossible. It's just a little bit harder, and I hope the Saints aren't picking near 8 anytime soon. So I would like Bain. My projection is Tate. We'll see what happens. Appreciate y'all for tuning in. Missed anything, catch it on demand wherever you find your sound. We're going to be live from Starkville tomorrow. Two Brothers Smoked Meats, getting you ready for LSU and State and recapping the draft night number 1. Matt's going to drive you home next on AFR. We're out of here.
The Hunt Palmer Show. The Hunt.
One Bath and Closets. OneBathAndClosets.com is the website. David Duvall and his team, 30 years redesigning and remodeling bathrooms and closets. You know, safety is a big issue in the bathroom, especially as folks age. If you know someone who is aging that you would like to keep safer in the bathroom, you can't eliminate those risks, but you can mitigate against them. You can put in non-slip floors. You can put in a walk-in tub that's got the ability to sit down. It's safer. It's more comfortable. You can put in a shower with a bench in it. David Duvall and his team are happy to do that for you. You may think, well, that's going to be tough for me to pay for at this point. Well, you got financing options available, 0% up to 18 months. That's the same as cash. So work with David. He's done it for dozens and dozens and dozens of folks around the Baton Rouge area, and he can do it for you. Check out the website, OneBathAndClosets.com. They'll do it right the first time and leave the competition behind. One Bath and Closets, OneBathAndClosets.com.